my family left the Soviet Union, $100 per family member, and that was the max amount you could leave with. That you surrendering your passport, you're starting a new life, and all you are allowed to start your new life with was $100 per family member. I just think that the government is going to keep printing money for a while, trying to keep everything from collapsing, and I think they still have about 5 years before things get spiral out of control. I'm not expecting another 2008, but during 2008, I was at Bear Stearns, one of the company that completely imploded. I learned that sleep is not a waste of productive time. I know it sounds funny. It's going to sound funny to everyone, right? But when I started doing that, it was so easy to put on muscle. It's crazy.
My goodness, Tone. I have known you for the better part of 2025 and had no idea what a freaking boss you are. You're a former Wall Street financial engineer, one of Bitcoin's earliest public analysts, a global educator on monetary sovereignty, and one of the few voices in the crypto world who has remained honest, consistent, and correct for more than a decade. You've also gone deep down the health optimization rabbit hole. You are the epitome of what it means to be a decentralized human, in control of your money, your health, and your time. I think what I love most about you is your no BS, straight to the point, don't care if I hurt your feelings as long as I speak truth kind of guy. Well done, brother. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, good chatting with you again. Now we're on a podcast, and I'm looking to switch my personal YouTube channel to be more health and wellness, and I'll definitely be having you on in the near future.
I love it. I can't wait. So now we've talked a dozen times in 2025. I've gotten to know you through FitScript and health optimization, and I could have literally gone on for a half hour talking about what you have done in the financial world. Why, in all those conversations, did you not say anything about all that you've done?
Because honestly, it wasn't important, right? Because I was talking to you about my interest, which is health and wellness. And once I saw a mutual friend of ours who joined FitScript, and I couldn't believe his body transformation. That would be Sally, but also I've seen what Ben Sessions have done. And I'm like, dude, how did you do that? And he said, I joined this company called FitScript. I'm like, okay, let me check this out. He connected me to you. This would have been about 6 months ago. And I jumped in as well. So I've been a member of FitScript for about 6 months. And I was going to talk about my journey through FitScript, but FitScript was just part of what I was looking to achieve. And when you and I were talking, I was like asking you questions about health and wellness, right? It's and through your FitScript company, and you're focusing on Bitcoiners, so you're already into Bitcoin a bit. I mean, you've done well financially. So my expertise in finance wasn't all that necessary, but man, I've been learning a lot about health and wellness. I've shut down a bunch of my businesses over the summer. Just to focus on health and wellness. And it's been challenging for me because I am a bit of a nomad, and trying to stay on top of your fitness routine and some supplements which I've added, and just your health and wellness routine. It can be overwhelming. And when you're traveling, it makes it so much harder.
So we're going to talk about health and fitness very, very soon, but I've got so many questions.
Go for it.
I want to dive right in. So Wall Street for a decade as a financial engineer, you're going to have to tell me what that even means, because I don't even know what a financial engineer does. You're a VP, JP Morgan Chase. You survived the 2008 financial crisis. Are we headed there again?
I don't think so. I don't think it's going to be that bad in the next year or two. I'm still pretty bullish on the overall markets. Bitcoin markets, stock markets. I mean, the only ones that are actually concerning to me are as funny as it sounds, like silver and gold. I think they've gone up way too much, way too quickly. So those are, I think, are getting a little too high. but I don't think the stock market is going up too fast. I mean, it's doing what I've expected it to do. Bitcoin is actually a little lower than I expected it to be. I think Bitcoin is going up slower than I expected. I am a little concerned about the bond markets, but no one really cares about the bond markets. I just think that the government is going to keep printing money for a while, trying to keep everything from collapsing. And I think they still have about 5 years before things get spiral out of control. So in the immediate future, I think we're okay. I'm not expecting another 2008, but during 2008, I was at Bear Stearns, one of the company that completely imploded. And financial engineering, also called financial mathematics sometimes, or quantitative finance, it's basically the math and programming guys on Wall Street, not the finance guys. So we're the people that program trading models or risk models. I was more on the risk modeling side, even though trading was always a passion of mine. And when I left Wall Street in 2015, I just started trading on my own. And at that same time, I started doing public speaking about Bitcoin, and just then started my YouTube channel about Bitcoin in 2016. There just weren't too many 10-year veterans of Wall Street talking about Bitcoin at the time. So it was really easy for me to capture a large audience from my, I guess, credentials.
So you have been through multiple Bitcoin cycles, a decade, right?
Yep.
What's the biggest misconception new investors have about the market today?
So in the Bitcoin space, I mean, the biggest misconception is the same one it's always been. People think they're going to get rich quick. And that's not really how it works. You have to get really lucky to get rich quick. You have to invest a lot, and you have to invest at the perfect time. And almost nobody can do that. It's almost impossible. So those that are buying into Bitcoin, you have to realize you're buying in on a 4 to 5 year horizon. You got to assume you're buying it at the worst possible time, just as you think you're buying it at the best possible time. So as long as your position isn't too leveraged, or you're buying Bitcoin for the right reasons, and you're willing to wait 4 to 5 years, you'll do really well. I mean, maybe you'll do well within 6 months, but I'm 100% positive you'll do well within 5 years.
When you look, or you were talking about the models that you were using through the financial engineering, do you still use those models today to look at Bitcoin?
No, the models we were building, they were more on the risk side of things, and they were more for the hedge fund space. But the skills that I learned there, I'm certainly applying those skills, like especially like you doing everything in Excel, and the programming skills that I learned on the job, and just not get scared, don't panic, and overall management skills. I was a manager towards the end of my Wall Street career, so I'm utilizing all the skills that I learned by being on Wall Street for 10 years. Also, the misconception, like the movies like Wolf of Wall Street, these are exceptions. It was like one of the biggest jokes I used to say was, I spent 10 years on Wall Street. Never once was I in the room where people are doing cocaine. In the crypto space, only took a couple of weeks. Like it's very different. Like a lot of people think that it's the movie Wolf of Wall Street, but it's not. Most people are, it's like family men working there. They just, do their job. They go back to their families. Like 98% of the people that work on Wall Street, they don't party. They don't. It's just a job like another job, like a librarian. It's not that. It's really not that different. You come in, you sit at a computer, you do your work. If you're good at your work, you're not going to have a lot of stress. If you're bad at your work, you're going to have more stress. Also depends on which part of finance you're doing. If you're at a really cutthroat hedge fund, yeah, it's going to be a little bit more stressful. But if you're good at your job, it's not going to be stressful.
So with regards to Bitcoin, is that the only asset you're focused on now, or do you track other assets?
So I track other assets, but not crypto assets. So I don't really pay attention to other crypto assets other than Bitcoin. So on the crypto side, it's only Bitcoin. I keep an eye on a couple of others just because my audience wants me to cover them and analyze them from a technical analysis perspective. So I'll occasionally look at Ethereum, a Solana, some of the big ones, some of the top 10 stuff. Anything outside of the top 10, I don't even know exists. I make fun of it sometimes, like, oh, wow, I haven't seen this one in a year. Look how bad it's done. I just think Bitcoin is the only asset that is unique enough in the crypto space to be excited about. I just don't see any innovation from anything else, any other crypto assets. I mean, they're good for trading and speculation or some more volatility. I pay attention to, precious metals markets, the stock market, the top companies in the stock market, occasionally bond rates. So I pay attention to those assets. But even back when I was trading stocks, here's how I try to explain why I don't pay attention to other cryptos. Even back when I was trading stocks, I only traded the top stocks. I traded the indices like the S&P, the NASDAQ, but I also traded stocks. But the only stocks I traded were basically the NASDAQ 100, just the top stocks. The stocks that I couldn't care less about were the penny stocks. This is what Jordan Belfort of the movie Wolf of Wall Street specialized in. I never cared about, there is tens of thousands of stocks that are worth $1 and less. And these stocks can go up 500% in a month, right? If a stock goes from 5 cents to 25 cents in a week, that's a massive move, 5 cents to 25 cents. That's a 5x move. And there's a stock like that every single week somewhere in the stock market. I don't pay attention to those stocks because they're not relevant to me. And I took the same approach to all these other cryptos. There's like 10,000 of them. And some of them will go up a lot and some of them will go down a lot. I'm smart enough to know that I don't know which ones are going to pump and which ones are going to dump, which is why I just stuck to Bitcoin. And even if one or two of them do succeed in the long run, I mean, Ethereum has done fairly well. Solana's been doing fairly well. Even if one or two of them do eventually succeed, there's no way I could have foreseen which two out of the 5,000 it would have been. But Bitcoin was easy for me to identify as something that will succeed. I was able to do that, over a decade ago. And I've been right on that one.
And what are some of the factors? What are some of the factors, right? When you say will succeed, you sound confident there. What are some of the, or what were some of the deciding factors that led you to go all in on Bitcoin?
Sure. So to me, Bitcoin has three unique properties that give it value, two of which are specifically unique to Bitcoin. And the third one has a commonality with gold. So I'm going to do them in order. So to me, the most important property of Bitcoin is unconfiscatability. I'm still one of the few people that continues to, I actually made that word known the word didn't exist before I started talking about it. So Bitcoin is the first unconfiscatable asset in human history. And that's because if you know how to properly protect your Bitcoin, no one can take it away from you. Now, the government does tend to confiscate Bitcoin from people and companies, but that's because they're not properly protecting it. But if you properly protect Bitcoin, it is the first unconfiscatable asset in human history. We've never had that before. And in my personal life, as an example, my family left the Soviet Union. I was about 10 years old when that happened. And it didn't matter how much wealth you had. We didn't have much. It was a communist country. But we were only allowed to leave the country of the Soviet Union $100 per family member. And that was the max amount you could leave with. You surrendering your passport, you're starting a new life, and all you are allowed to start your new life with was $100 per family member. Now, this was back in 1990. $100 will buy you more than now. But what, right now, maybe it's $400, maybe it's $500, right? So imagine you're leaving the United States. There's no social media, like the internet doesn't exist, right? are you going to be able to start a new life with $500 per family member? That's what we had to do, right? And Bitcoin removes that possibility forever. Right now, you have something that wealth you can store in your head. There's no metal detector that will take it away. There's no bank account to be frozen. And this is so powerful. Most people still don't understand the power of an unconfiscatable asset. So to me, that's Bitcoin's most important, most unique property.
I think the thing is, real quick, Tone. So I think, as you're saying that, right, I'm thinking about that and I'm thinking, well, but you hear all the time, businesses, people, they are getting their Bitcoin confiscated. So you said storing it properly.
Yeah.
Can you expand on what storing it properly means? Because when I'm hearing it, I'm like, well, I see it all over the news. Just, 5 days ago, someone got it confiscated.
Right. So it's super simple. Storing it properly means you are the custodian of the Bitcoin. There's no third party holding it for you. So you're not storing it at Coinbase. You're storing it yourself in your own wallet, your own little hardware wallet. So you are a self-custodian of your Bitcoin. And the second part to the equation, just keep your mouth shut and don't tell people you have Bitcoin, right? So the combination of those two things make your Bitcoin unconfiscatable.
Yeah. Don't tell anybody. Okay, fair.
I heard a really funny story. I'll make it quick. It was during one of the presentations. There was like a family that were looking to get out of Nazi Germany. And it was the same thing. How do you get out of Nazi Germany with your wealth? And because they search every car, everything. And the dad had the idea, you know what? I'm going to buy platinum wire. And he, at home every night, was turning the platinum wire into hangers for your clothes. And when he was able to, spend all their money on this copper wire that he turned into hangers, they put all their clothes on these platinum hangers, threw it all in the trunk, and that's how they left Germany with all their wealth. And when the car was searched, all they saw was clothes on hangers. But here's the important part of the story. They could not even tell their family members this was their plan, because had they done that, they could have been exposed.
So Tone, I think a big development that we've seen, with your past history, you were one of the first from Wall Street kind of coming into the Bitcoin space. Now, seemingly everybody is in. What has been this biggest development and shift? Because I know you're talking about the unconfiscatability, but there's also, the store of value aspect of Bitcoin that it seems like Wall Street is starting to see and come around to. So what made that click, and what has been that development over this past 10 years?
Right. They're seeing the store of value. To me, that's the third one. So let me just briefly mention the second one. So the second property that's unique to Bitcoin is censorship-resistant value transfer. The ability to send Bitcoin from one person to any other person on the planet, as long as they have internet. But there's other ways. They're a little more advanced, like through satellite, through text messages. Like, it is possible. But simplest way, you're sending your Bitcoin to any other person on the planet. That transaction may not always be fast. It may not always be cheap. It may not always be private, but there's no way to censor or stop that transaction. So that's another property unique to Bitcoin. And then the third property is the scarcity of Bitcoin. The fact that there will only be 21 million Bitcoin. This is the property that Bitcoin shares with gold and some other precious metals, but gold more than others. It's a little bit better than gold because we don't really know how much gold is out there, but we do know for a fact that Bitcoin is going to stay at 21 million. That part is not changing. You do have to understand the inner workings of Bitcoin to know why that part's not changing. And that's the part that people are most gravitated to, that Bitcoin is a scarce asset and therefore it should go up in value. And that's what a lot of Wall Street is banking on. But the reason why people buy into Bitcoin is still the first two properties. I think they're way more important than the scarcity side of Bitcoin. The scarcity side of Bitcoin should increase the value of Bitcoin faster than it would if Bitcoin was a not finite asset at 21 million Bitcoins. but I still think Bitcoin would have succeeded. Even if Satoshi did not create finality to Bitcoin at 21 million, I still think Bitcoin would have succeeded uh, and be valuable today and useful today because of those first two properties that I mentioned, because they are unique to Bitcoin. That is what Bitcoin brought to the world. And none of these other crypto assets are bringing those properties to the world. And they're not bringing finite supply either, right? Because Bitcoin is at 21 million and there are a million of other cryptos. So there is an infinite supply of other cryptos. And that's another reason why I don't pay attention to most of them or at all, because if you think that Bitcoin and Ethereum are going to succeed, then Bitcoin's 21 million supply doesn't matter, right? Because Ethereum adds additional supply. If Ethereum actually does in the long term come up with usefulness, then that usefulness could be built on top of Bitcoin. This is already being debated in the Bitcoin space with the latest updates. I'm sure Ben Sessions covers it on his channel. So that's why those other ones, they're not here for the long term. They're here for the short term. That short term may be a decade, but Bitcoin's going to last long beyond that. And these kinds of innovations, they don't come around every decade. They come around once in a lifetime for a person. In the last century, it's basically just been the internet and Bitcoin. You have to go to the prior century to find innovations on the Bitcoin scale. We're talking oil, like finding a use for oil, electricity, flight. I mean, these are the kinds of innovations we're talking about.
Yeah, and it definitely seems like Wall Street is all in. So, while they're starting to come in, I think it's Vanguard just released that they're going to start to come in. Have you had any of your Wall Street buddies now hit you up since you've retired from the game and say, "Hey, Tone, you were right all along. Why didn't you convince me earlier?"
It hasn't happened lately. I mean, it happened more like 4 or 5 years ago. People started to realize it. Now, Bitcoin is just commonplace, right? This is the reason I don't talk about Bitcoin much anymore. It was great back in 2016, 17, 18, going into 2020. But now it's like everyone knows what it is. There are, users of Bitcoin today that weren't even born when Bitcoin first came out. And eventually, the person that used to, do workshops on how to send email and how to browse the internet, I mean, that person no longer has a job because it just becomes normalized. And I think Bitcoin is at that stage. Bitcoin is at that normalization stage. And that's one of the reasons why I don't just, there's people that explain Bitcoin way better than me at this point. Michael Saylor is there now. I already mentioned Ben Sessions, who I think has like one of the best channels about Bitcoin on YouTube. That's where I send everybody to. And there's many others like Simply Bitcoin. So there's so many good channels now that explain Bitcoin that I want to move on to something else. And health and wellness has been my new passion. And that happens, right? As you get older, also as you become more successful, your priority changes. Your priority, used to be, how do I make money? And then eventually it's like, no, my priority is now, how do I wisely spend it? And one of the best ways to spend it is, on yourself, on making yourself better. One of those ways is, of course, with longevity, which is a space that is most unique and interesting right now. But the longevity space is also interesting from two aspects. There is the natural side of health, wellness, and longevity, and the technological side of health, wellness, and longevity. I am mostly focused on the natural side of it, but we'll see how that transition goes. And through FitScript, I learned a lot of things. One of them is, until you've optimized the natural side of health, wellness, and longevity, don't even think about the technological side or advanced injections. Like do everything you can naturally first, and only then start considering other options.
So as you're sharing that, I agree with you. How does that, so we can kind of segue over to, health, wellness, optimization. How does that sort of philosophy that you've learned in FitScript translate into wealth sovereignty? What would you say to somebody who maybe has their health sovereignty, has that figured out, but has not figured out the wealth side? What is that sort of foundational thing that they need to do before, right, they put the cherry on top, so to speak?
Ooh, that's actually a hard question. So see, here's the way I would look at it, right? If you have your health and wellness dialed in, you would be living a life of low stress, low cortisol, so you're happy. And if you're happy, uh, I mean, you're not stressing out over making money. So either you have a job that you like, you're making enough money to live comfortably, and now it's about long-term investment. Like in order for you to have your health dialed in, that would have been a long-term plan and a long-term investment. So the person that has their health dialed in, that is now trying to optimize their financials, I think that person is already on the right track. I think their financials will probably be in order. I see it as completely the other way around. People are, chasing money and their health is deteriorating from all angles, trying to chase money or trying to uh, uh, right, again, be better financially. So if there is a person that, let's say, your job is a personal trainer and you just don't have a lot of wealth, but your health is dialed in because it's your job. That's like the only person I can think of, right? Someone who has perfect health, but in financial struggles. That means being healthy is part of your job and that's how you've maintained it. Then you just gotta find these longer term investments. Don't try to get rich quick. Just like there's no way you created your body in a quick way. And this is where assets like Bitcoin or the overall stock market, I would say, don't try to trade. Don't chase short term gains. Just start putting 10, 20% of any money you've saved into Bitcoin or diversify it with Bitcoin and stocks. I think precious metals market is a little too high right now. If we were doing this a year or two ago, I would have said diversify into some precious metals and maybe some land as well, if you can. So that would be kind of my advice for someone that is trying to do it the other way around. But again, someone who has their health dialed in shouldn't be a person that would try to be this leverage degenerate trader, because it just doesn't fit with their mentality, because their health wouldn't be dialed in.
Yeah, fair.
Now, Tone, I don't know if you remember this, but we were at the Bitcoin Mansion maybe a little bit over a year ago at Miss Bitcoin's party, and you were standing in the corner on this, like right next to this tree, on a blade of grass, and you're like, "Hey, I'm really gotten into grounding, and maybe I'm not fully as hippie as everybody else, but the hippies were onto something with this." And you're describing kind of how you're in the natural side of things. How did you, I guess, yourself personally transition into that more of that wellness side of your life and really decide to focus on it? Because I think ever since I've known you for the past 3-4 years now. You've always been kind of one to work out, but it seems like you're more dialed in now than I've ever seen you before.
And I want to add to that. So you've been in the crypto, I won't say crypto, Bitcoin space for a decade. To add to what Brandon said, at what point on that financial sovereignty journey were you like, hey, I've got to start taking my health serious?
So I was more dialed in to health before the pandemic. So the pandemic and the lockdowns kind of threw me off my it threw me off my wellness journey. Now, I didn't know as much back then as I do now. I know more about diets now. I know a little more about optimized workouts now. I know more about supplements now. But I wasn't like the best shape of my life going into the pandemic. I was still making it to the gym, but also my focus was just Bitcoin. Like my YouTube channel was just Bitcoin. But after the pandemic, I became a lot more like political. I had also I lost a lot of my audience because I went political. So my life kind of got turned upside down with the pandemic. Also going into the pandemic, my life was about traveling and public speaking, which kind of ended. All the gyms closed. I was locked down. I got like really upset over that whole thing, and like just and then like the election of 2020, I attended those protests in 2020. That got my YouTube channel banned. So like my life just got flipped upside down in 2020 and 2021. There were like other issues, other legal issues that I got into. So, and I just couldn't get myself out of it. I mean, I'm sure everyone listening at one point or another, you've been dialed in, especially with like your gym, and then something happens in your life and you don't go to the gym for 3 to 6 months. And then you're like, okay, I'm going to start next month. The next thing you know, like 3 years goes by. So that's what happened to me. So when everything got flipped upside down in 2020, I just, now I was doing too much. Now I was focusing on reviving my events business. I was trying to revive my YouTube channel. I didn't have an identity for the YouTube channel. Is it going to stay Bitcoin? Is it going to be finance? Is it going to be, geopolitical? Is it going to be like anti-vaccine channel? Like things like that, right? Because I was I was early to that whole trend. I'm happy to say that I've been right on every political trend very early. Like you get banned, but like right now I can say anti-vaccine and no one bats an eye. Had I said this on this recording, 5 years ago, there's no way you're putting it into the final cut because then you can get your channel banned, right? Like today, it's no big deal. So, and the next thing I know, it's already going into 2025, and I've spent like 2-3 years trying to revive my businesses. And I just said, you know what? All it's doing is causing me a bunch of stress. It's not generating much revenue. Let me just shut it all down. Let me relax. Let me focus on something else that will make me happy, because focusing on geopolitics and doing YouTube streams about all these wars and what the government is doing, it wasn't putting me in a good mental state. So I decided to just make the switch and focus on myself and get my body back in shape, because all my muscle was gone by 2021. And I just couldn't get back into the gym because of my nomad lifestyle. And I just kept thinking, well, what's the point of working out this week if I can't stay consistent? And that was the reason why I joined FitScript. And when I have you on my channel, probably like in January or something, Mike, we're gonna focus on that. But
well, 4 years ago, you recorded a video on the carnivore diet. I saw it on your channel.
I did,
so
yeah.
2025, so that's 2021. That's a year after the pandemic. Is that when you switched to carnivore?
So no, I was on carnivore. I was going towards carnivore a little before that. I mean, I went mostly gluten-free back in like 2017, 18. I was mostly carnivore. I do eat fruit. I mean, I was doing carnivore and fruit before, like Paul Saladino and a bunch of other guys. I just like fruit too much. That's why I was eating that. I didn't know that was going to be an actual, that was going to become some kind of a trend. So my diet was the only thing I kind of maintained. But as far as workouts go, that kind of went by the wayside. But this is why I think FitScript is great, is because FitScript combines 3 things. It combines the diet side of things with the workout side of things, with labs and your blood work side of things. And when I say blood work, it's more advanced than that. Like it starts with blood work, but you may have to get your gut tested. You may have to get a tox report. You may have to, get a DNA testing. So like the blood work and the technological side of things, again, something that 100 years ago didn't exist. Like there was no technology to analyze your blood and your DNA and your gut microbiome. These things just didn't exist. So FitScript combines all three of these things, and there's not much competition for combining all three. At least I haven't seen it. But my number one reason for joining FitScript was the workout side of things. I wanted to, join a program where I would have to pay money that would hold me accountable. Not only the fact that I'm paying money, also there is like virtual personal training where I'm accountable for my workouts, because I had my diet dialed in. I mean, I am improving my diet with I'm through FitScript, because you guys do webinars every week and lots of guidance. So I did alter my diet a bit.
What's changed? What's changed about your diet since joining FitScript?
I'm a little bit more open to carbs. I did add sweet potato into my carnivore diet, and I had to change from 1 meal a day to 2 meals a day in order to put on muscle. So those were the two big changes in my diet. So the diet slightly changed, but my diet was dialed in. And also on the blood work side, I was already doing blood work, and I have the time to dig into my own blood work, which a lot of people don't. So a person joining FitScript, they probably need all three of these things. They need accountability on their workouts. They need an expert to analyze their blood work and other technological markers to tell them what it is. And the FitScript does have very good people to analyze that. I would never go to a medical doctor to analyze my blood work. And the third side is, again, if you don't have your diet dialed in, FitScript will help you make a full meal plan and everything. So for me, it was like 80% the workouts and 20% the other two. But for some people, it could be completely the other way around. They may have their workouts dialed in, and then they're like, yeah, but I work out every day. I'm at the gym every day, but why can't I look good? And then you come to FitScript, and the first thing they'll tell you is, why don't you stop working out for a month and work on things that are important in order for you to actually build muscle?
True story. True story. People hate that too. What do you mean? I thought working out more was the solution.
No, it's really not. And I was able to put on muscle so quickly this time around versus even when I was 20 years old. And that's because I learned something. I always say my biggest takeaway from FitScript was I learned that sleep is not a waste of productive time. Like I know it sounds funny. It's going to sound funny to everyone, right? But I started working at 13 years old. All through high school, I was working. Then college, I got several degrees, and I was working 2 jobs while getting my education. Then grad school, where I was also working. Then Wall Street, where you're working a shit ton of hours. And then I quit Wall Street to be an entrepreneur with influencer and like, Mike, you have like 1 million followers. You don't have a party lifestyle, but I kind of did. But when I say party lifestyle, a little different. Like I've never done drugs, just alcohol and other vices, but not drugs.
You were. So when you came in, I remember you said that you were drinking when you came in. Have you cut that out completely now?
Not completely, but significantly. Okay. I'm at like probably 80% reduction on my alcohol intake since 6 months ago. Okay. And I'm probably going to cut that back more. The wearable device, keeps me on track a bit. And now I know like which alcohol has more of an effect. So when I say party,
so what did you figure out? What did you figure before? I don't mean to cut you off too, because I want you to finish. When you say what alcohol has the biggest effect? We'll call it has the biggest negative impact. So that you have found out by wearing the wearable.
So we're gonna cut beer out of the equation, because when I started working out this summer, I kind of went off beer again because I was gluten free. I went to Japan like a year and a half ago, and I started drinking beer after going to Japan because it's all they drink there. And then I finally, so I don't have any stats on beer. So now we're gonna compare. And I also stopped mixed drinks as well, so I don't have stats on that. So we're talking wine versus spirits. Wine has horrendous effects on me. Like, it sucks. Like I used to love a good glass of wine with my steak, but now I'm limited to maybe one glass at most. And if I start drinking that wine before I start eating the food, my sleep is wrecked. It just comes all back as high stress sleep all the way. If I have one glass of wine, like, you eat the appetizers and then the steak comes and then you eat like half the steak and then you start drinking that glass of wine, then I'm borderline okay. But man, I can still have 3 tequilas after my dinner and it doesn't have any effect on my sleep. So I can still get away with drinking straight liquor, but I may have to cut all wine, which sucks. So wine has been the problem.
He said three. Are those singles or doubles, Tone?
No, 3 singles. But I've cut back, and the thing is, once you actually cut back on alcohol properly, your body doesn't want it. So even like, it doesn't want it, especially like cheap, terrible stuff. Like, if it's really, really good, we're talking, anything upwards of like $75 bottles of scotch or, tequila is tricky because the most expensive stuff is pure crap and full of sugar. But if you're drinking high quality liquor, it still somewhat tastes good to me. But man, the taste of alcohol, once you stop drinking, the taste of alcohol, your body just doesn't want it. And then you have a sip. You would think that if you don't drink for a year and you have a sip of alcohol, you're going to be like, oh my God, this is amazing. I missed it so much. It's the opposite. You take a sip, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I used to drink this shit.
I agree. I totally agree. So,
but real quick, but my party lifestyle was more like staying out late, hanging out with people, playing poker, smoking a cigar. And I would be, and Brandon, you've been to my event. You've been to the financial summit in Dominican Republic, and I do these week-long events. On average, I sleep like 2 hours a night. I don't sleep. I'm the last one to go to sleep, and I'm the first one to wake up out of a group of like 50 people. And I had no problem doing this because my body was just used to 5 to 6 hours of sleep for doing it for 20 years. But the hardest thing for me to do was to adjust my body to getting 7+ hours of sleep. And when I started doing that, it was so easy to put on muscle. It's crazy.
Yeah, Tone, I couldn't believe, honestly, like, I mean, I'm younger than you and I couldn't keep up with you at that time. You guys would stay up to what, like 3, 4 in the morning, then you'd be up at like 7 a.m. just ready to go through a presentation. I honestly, during those weeks, I walked away like, how the hell did these guys operate? It's insane. But I mean, with that, right? I mean, obviously you've had a huge lifestyle change with the sleep. What was that kind of, I guess, was it an easy transition to go there? Did you just all of a sudden like let yourself, what was the kind of difficulties? Because I think a lot of entrepreneurs, you hear the people, oh, you don't need to sleep. The Dana Whites, all of these people kind of come out and say, you don't really need to sleep too much. And then, you're kind of saying the opposite now. So, what was that flip that you had, and how difficult was it to move into a place where you're sleeping, I guess a quote unquote normal amount of sleep of like 7 to 8 hours a night?
Well, I mean, what triggered it was watching replays of old videos with Mike and Dr. Paul. I just watched all of those videos and they were super convincing. Like, it doesn't, for me to be convinced on something, it just has to make sense. And it just made so much sense of how important sleep was. And it is challenging. Like, you have your cell phones. You always think you're missing something important. I try not to set an alarm anymore. I try not to do any meetings in the morning. I know it's hard if you have like an early morning job. You just got to be disciplined. And even I still get caught, someone sends you like one Instagram like story or reel, and you just click on it to just watch that one that your friend sent you, and next thing you know, you're scrolling for 15 minutes, right? 20 minutes. You just gotta try to avoid that stuff. Same thing with YouTube as well, like YouTube Shorts. You just want to watch one, then you end up watching like 101. So you wanna avoid doing something like that. You want to try to get a sleep routine going. So much easier when you have one bed that's the same bed. Very difficult when you're traveling. Because I remember, so I have Whoop. So I have my like college friends, and all of us have Whoop. It's like 5 of us, and uh, I really thought that I would be crushing it because I'm making it my job for my health and wellness. And these guys all have jobs. Like one of them has like a baby. And I'm like, there's no way these guys are going to get better recovery and sleep stats or strain stats than me because this is my focus. I was so wrong. Being in one place, living in one house, having the same bed, the same pillow, a consistent routine is equally as important as someone like me whose focus is health and wellness, but I'm in a different country every week or two. It's so hard. So if you think that someone like me whose job it is to do health and wellness, but I constantly travel, if you think that it's easier for me to have better sleep and a better workout schedule and better health and wellness routine, no, you're wrong. The most important thing is consistency. It's absolute consistency. Trying to eat at the same time, trying to go to bed at the same time, trying to wake up at the same time, hopefully without an alarm. Don't get bogged down like, oh, I can't afford all of these like supplements. I can't afford all this stuff. Try to go after the low hanging fruit first. Maximize everything you can that costs zero money, right? It costs zero to have a consistent daily schedule. It costs zero to optimize your food, eat less crap. Like these things cost zero. After you've optimized everything that costs zero, then potentially optimize things that cost a little bit of money. But don't even worry about that. But having that consistency, going to bed at the same hour is key. Something I can't do. Like it's absolutely impossible.
Hard for me too. Oof.
Yeah.
Hard for me too. So in the beginning, you mentioned anti-vax, and then you mentioned that you would never go to a doctor, medical professional for labs interpretation. Does that mean you are anti-big pharma?
Yeah, I'm pretty much anti big pharma, but let me clarify anti-vax. I'm anti-COVID vax. I am. I became anti-vax in general because of the COVID vax, and I had a bunch of vaccines done in January of 2020. I was never anti-vaccine, but based on what I saw with the COVID vaccine, it turned me anti-all vaccine. And it was interesting because during those COVID days, there was one doctor, and I've seen the interview with that doctor, who basically said this COVID vaccine will turn people off from all vaccines because that's how evil it was. And I was one of those people. But
what do you think about the vaccines and some of the things that RFK is talking about with links to autism?
I'm unqualified to give an opinion on that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I'm unqualified to give an opinion. Let's go there. But I don't think it's a direct cause and effect, right? So yes, it's possible that these other vaccines are causing autism, but I think there's more to it than that, right? I think it's the terrible baby formula that they eat. I think it probably has stuff to do with how the mom's diet during pregnancy, right? I think there's more to it than that. I think the vaccines aren't helping, but
I would
I
agree with
think
you.
on modern lifestyle, autism would probably be around even without the vaccines. Uh,
I agree with you. Something that bothers me though is the vaccine schedule and how it's changed over the years. Initially, it was a couple, and now I think it's in the 20s by the time they're 3 or 4 years old. There's no reason for that many at that age.
No, I completely agree. Like when I have kids, I mean, I will make it very clear that they're getting zero vaccines at a young age. I mean, if they want a vaccine later on, like maybe a tetanus vaccine or like a yellow fever, if there are specific things when they're later in life, when their body has already developed, I would be more open to that. Ideally, I'd wait until the kid is 18. If we can avoid all vaccines, and then let the adult decide what they want to do with their body, right? So that's
100%.
kind of my philosophy on it.
100%. So 2020 came. Me and my wife, we have been anti-vaccine since as long as we can remember. Our kids were not vaccinated, and so 2020 came along, and people were like, "Oh, they started." The outlandish remarks. Oh my gosh, you're going to die. Your kids are going to die. And it's like, well, no, we had went down all the rabbit holes prior to 2020. We made the decision not to have our kids vaxxed, and they were, born 11 and 13 years ago. And so that was a stance that we had long before 2020. I think 2020 came along, COVID came along, and it really opened people's eyes, like you said, right? It made people now against all vaccinations because of what happened and what transpired in 2020.
Right. No, completely agree. Yeah. So you were way ahead of the game on that one.
Way ahead.
Yeah. So that's kind of my view on that. And just the general medical profession. I lost so much respect for that profession. It's absolutely crazy. And again, that I wasn't really going to doctors much. I just stayed fairly healthy. But man, after with the whole COVID thing, and I started looking into my own blood work and biomarkers and everything, I'm like, man, I'm more qualified to analyze blood work than your average medical doctor at this point. It's insane.
So I was like you, right? So I haven't seen a doctor in over a decade, and I was always just like, hey, if I need one, fine. Now it's like the last resort, right, as a doctor, like the last resort, unless, right, God forbid, I get into a car accident, I break a bone,
surgery.
Right?
Surgery,
Absolutely.
broken bones,
Right,
like a major infection. That it's useful. But man, going to a doctor for general health and be healthier, oh my God, you're better off just not even going.
Agreed. You talk a lot about financial sovereignty over the past decade. Your career has really been sort of surmounted and paved through that lens. I talk a lot about biological sovereignty, which is now something that you're getting ready to talk a lot about. What parallels do you see between the two?
More independence. And again, with Bitcoin, with modern technology, with the internet, people are able to take more control of their lives. They're able to work on the internet, to free up more time. They're able to learn any skills. Anything you want to learn, again, you have the internet. You can learn it. You want to change careers. It's easier than ever now with the internet. Same thing with Bitcoin. It's international, borderless money. Anyone with a skill can earn and get paid in Bitcoin from the other side of the world. Mm-hmm. And the same thing with being healthier. Like it's all about information and your willingness to spend time learning that information. I'll go back to when I was working on Wall Street. I wasn't living in Manhattan. I was living outside of Manhattan. So I used to commute over an hour to get to work and from work. And even back then, I remember I was on the bus and all I see people, or on a train, and all I see people around me is playing games like Candy Crush. And I'm like, how? Why? You have the internet. Like I was listening to podcasts. I was always learning something. Even this year, like I'm proud to say that in the calendar year 2025, I've watched 2 hours of entertainment TV. I've watched one movie. It was with a bunch of friends. We were up at an event in Alaska. We were bored one night and watched one movie. That's it. I haven't watched any shows, any movies, anything I'm listening to or watching on YouTube is there to educate me on something new. I just don't watch entertainment TV, and I don't play games. And it pains me to like stand somewhere or like it doesn't matter where I am, and I look to my right, and there is someone that probably hates their job. But how are you spending your free time? You're playing one of these games on your phone.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. Bitcoin demands patience, discipline, and long-term thinking. The same skills are required to fix your health. Why do you think people fail at both?
Honestly, I think modern society is just too distracting. That would have to be my answer. It's just there's society makes up excuses for people. Maybe too much socialism that they always think the government's going to take care of them. Too many distractions, too many games around you, too many things on your devices that capture your attention. It's kind of people's fault, but I understand why they just can't focus. And nothing in their life, from their education when they were kids to their parents, nothing in their life had helped them focus. I wasn't eating the right food when I was a teenager or in college. It's not easy getting on the right track, because there's just 99% of society they don't know to help you. It's again going back to why wouldn't you go to a medical doctor for your general health? And the answer is, at no point in their education were they ever taught a single course how to prevent disease. Right. They just weren't taught that. It's not their fault. It's not your medical doctor's fault that he has no idea what to tell you to prevent you from coming back to his office, because at no point did he take a single course on how to do that.
Yeah. Well, there's no money in prevention. We know that, right?
Yeah.
Empty hospital bills don't pay. Empty hospital beds, excuse me, don't pay the bills. You mentioned about you and how you're always learning. You're always looking or listening or watching something that's going to help you get to the next level. And then you mention a lack of focus and so many distractions as sort of the thing getting in the way of people and their sovereignty and becoming a decentralized human. How have you managed? You're traveling, right? You're always on the go. How have you managed to stay so focused and always be in a state of learning, of growing, etc.?
I just got fed up with it and made a mental commitment. I'm going to put on muscle again. It was just, okay, starting today, I'm going to be disciplined. I'm going to be serious. Over the last couple of weeks, it's kind of went a little bit off, but I'm about to get right back on track. And it was the same way for my sleep routine, which has, again, lately got off track a little bit. I got to start listening to like a 10-minute meditation before bed again. I kind of let that go the last couple of weeks. I got my, blue light glasses. Look, there's a lot. I'm going to be working on a document that kind of puts it all together. There's a lot of stuff, but again, you do what you can do and you just stay consistent, and then you add things over time as you can. So for me, it was just reminding myself every day, hey, I made this commitment. I'm going to stick with it. So yeah, this summer I made the commitment. Hey, I'm going to start working out. Not every day, but 3-4 times a week, consistently. Other than the last 2 weeks, I've stuck with that, and getting back.
What about the other things, though? What about the other things, right? So you're talking about putting on some lean muscle. You're talking about health, but what about if you could think back to the the financial sovereignty. What was it then? What were some of the consistent habits that allowed you to get to a place now where you can travel? You don't really have to have any income coming in. You are set and have that sort of foundational wealth established and built.
It was a focus on not liking what I was doing and wanting and making a mental commitment to do something better. When I got hired on my first Wall Street job, I remember it was like late 2000. I want to say it was in 2000, late 2005, early 2006, and I was being a college like adjunct professor before that, and all of a sudden I crushed that interview. Like I was taking these interviews with these Wall Street companies. I remember I did an interview with Moody's, which is like the bond rating agency, and then there was a couple of ones. And you kind of know when you do a job interview, I'm like, man, I know I didn't do that great, and but this one, I just got lucky. Like every question they asked me was something I happened to know. It's like being on one of those game shows where they're like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, right? And it's like sometimes every question is something that you've experienced in your life, right? So just every question that they asked me, I was just able to nail it. I just got lucky. And I'm like, okay, I crushed this interview. I'm very confident they're going to give me an offer. They gave me an offer. It was like doubling my salary from teaching. I'm like, all right, that's it. I'm quitting immediately. I'm taking this job. And I'm being trained for this job by a guy who is leaving. And he was like one of the original guys at that unit. And everything he's like showing me what to do, I'm like, I love it. And then I asked him, I'm like, dude, why are you quitting? Like, not that I'm upset over this, right? I just got a job. Like, why are you leaving and training me as your replacement? And he said, once your commute to your job becomes more enjoyable than your job, it's time to leave. And 10 years later, I realized that when I'm sitting on a bus going to this Wall Street job, and I'm like, this sucks. Like I really don't like it. I want to do something different. And I was all in, right? I actually ended up leaving at the worst possible time. I ended up leaving at like the bottom end, like right at the Bitcoin bear market. So it was kind of tough because I'm like, man, like, what do you do? Like Bitcoin is so low. And I wish I still had that job because I could have bought Bitcoin at like the 2015 bottom. Bitcoin was like 250. But instead I'm trying to start a whole new career. And like, I don't have any money to buy more Bitcoin. But I had to make it work. Like I quit. I was all in. It was kind of like that old Viking saying, right? Like when they landed some new place and they burned the ships, there's no running away. We're going all in on this new venture. So that's what it was, sometimes but I also did one of those DNA, like health, like DNA review things where they tell you your medical dispositions, like whether you're more likely, less likely based on your DNA. Mine came back way more likely to take risks just based on my DNA, which is kind of crazy. It's crazy the kind of personality stuff they tell you about you from your DNA. But that's what it was. It was a risk. It was a big risk. Quitting a nice, cushy, 6-figure salary job, not knowing what the future holds. Am I going to be, this trader creating a hedge fund? Am I going to have a successful YouTube career? Am I going to be a successful public speaker? I also started a physical business. It was, I invested with a friend of mine who was a massage therapist. That turned out to be the worst of the ventures. That business actually cost me a bunch of money, again, at the worst possible time for Bitcoin buys and sells. So you go through these lessons, but I just mentally go all in, and I succeed really well for at least 6 months, and then you start to deviate a bit, and then you got to come back on track. So I'm ready to come back on track. If I don't come back on track in December, because you know how December is, it's like the hardest one. It'll be easy to come back on track in January.
Yeah. So you're talking about being a risk taker, even in your DNA test. It says, Tone the risk taker. What are some of the risks that you plan on taking in 2026? Are you thinking about them already?
Yeah. So my risks in 2026 will be uh, diversifying into. So last year I started diversifying into some companies, or this year started diversifying into some companies that have nothing to do with crypto. Again, I want to just diversify my um, life savings a bit. And the risks for 2026, I got two in mind already. Maybe a third location is I sold my New York apartment like 2, 3 years ago because I was living in Panama but my life is changing a little bit. And right now I'm back to a full nomad lifestyle. I have no home. And I'm looking to acquire land in certain strategic areas in different parts of the world and start building a very unique commercial slash residential citadel, residential for me, with maybe a few side apartments for friends and family to come visit. I don't want to be a landlord. And this building will have very strategic commercial businesses. I don't want to talk too much detail here because
You
I
remember? I
want
remember
to.
you mentioning. Yeah, I won't
Yeah.
either. But you mentioned. Yeah, I know. Now I know what you're talking about too. This is such a good idea.
And these are very, very risky because I have to acquire the land. I have to build the building from scratch. And then I have to manage these physical businesses. And I have no expertise in any of these things, right? Like I've never purchased an empty plot of land, certainly not in countries I didn't grow up in. Uh, I've never built a building before. Like, how do you hire the right architect? How do you hire the right contractor? How do you build it perfect, right? Like, what if they build it halfway and then everything's going to shit, right? And then managing the physical businesses. I mean, I've struggled managing my virtual businesses where I get super frustrated. I'm a perfectionist. I can never find the right people. I always say I've fired more people than I've hired because I fired myself in certain ventures. And how I'm going to pull this off, I have absolutely no idea. But this is this is what I've been like prepping my brain to start next year is to get in on these things. I mean, the higher Bitcoin goes, the easier this will be. This is my big risk. I'll start with one location, but I already have like 2 to 3 in mind, and we'll see how that goes.
Love it. So I have just a couple of more questions, Brandon. I want to turn over to you to see if you're chomping at the bit to ask Tone anything specific.
Yeah, I mean, Tone, obviously we've got a lot of travels and everything here planned in 2026. But what is one thing that, you said it is difficult, but, what is something that keeps you motivated to keep doing it outside of just, wanting to look good in the mirror or put on some muscle? Has it been able to, I guess, make the traveling a little less wear and tear on your body? Have you noticed a difference when you're traveling from country to country? Has there been any, I guess, like effects that you've seen just from the jump from starting down this wellness journey?
So definitely looking better in the mirror. That was a high priority. Uh, I mean, my other priority is to settle down and have one place to live. Hopefully, raise a family. That's why I want to build something that I really like, that I can stay in. But my other motivation is uh, at heart, I'm still an educator and I'm very good at it. That's how I was able to build my original YouTube audience. I was a high school teacher for 1 year. I just quit because I didn't like it. That's how the one that got a master's in financial engineering. I was a college professor for a bit. I used to teach workshops where I teach people. I really like educating people. I mean, I've had all of these trading workshops, education stuff. I'm very good at teaching, and I am more than happy to share my knowledge, no matter how much money it cost me and how much time I've spent learning something. I get pleasure from sharing what I know and sharing my knowledge. And I worry about how do I monetize that later. But based on my life up to this point, I've invested well. I've done fairly well. I I've now diversified into some businesses and other things where if I don't have to worry about money at all, I will share all my knowledge with zero interest or intention on monetizing it. Eventually, you almost have to monetize it because, like client support, and Mike, you would know this because you have more followers than me. Like at some point, you almost have to monetize it, and you have to monetize it super high because your attention, you only have so much time you can devote to people, and you can't devote your attention to people that aren't paying you for it because they'll never value the information the
Free
same, right?
doesn't work. Free never works.
No,
Free
I
never works.
because I remember when I used to teach workshops, right? I used to teach these trading workshops. I used to charge like $1,000 for someone to come to this trading workshop, and there would be like sometimes as high as 20 people in this trading workshop for the weekend. And I get people like messaging me, like begging me, Tone, I watch your YouTube channel. I would love to come to your workshop. Can you please give me a discount? And the moment I hear that, and in my experience, the people you give a discount to come to this $1,000 workshop, or God forbid you let them come for free, you will regret it. That will be the most annoying person with the silliest questions, like disrupting the room. And I almost want to charge extra. Like
Yeah,
anyone
so
that
true.
asks me for a discount, you almost want to say, I have to charge you double because I
Yeah,
know what my experience is going to be like with you. And
yeah.
people don't realize this. They just don't realize it, right?
The
So
smaller the dog, the bigger the bark. Straight up, every single time. I've done it hundreds of times because I have a giving heart. Yeah, cool, you can have it for this, or yeah, cool, I'll do this one for free. And oh my goodness, it blows my mind. But you are so spot on with that. Anyway,
so um one of the reasons why I'm just spending all my time learning as much about health and wellness and longevity as I can is so that I can share the knowledge. And that would, you know, that motivates me, right? Like, no, I need to spend more learning this because I want to share what I've learned, and at no cost. But if it starts to become overwhelming, now you have to start charging for it because your attention can only go so far.
all right, a couple quick questions and then we will wrap up. So, Bitcoin, are you buying here, selling here, or sort of staying put? And where do you see, do you think we've peaked, or do you think the top of this cycle is still ahead of us?
So I think the top of the cycle is still ahead of us. Now, having said that, I've exited my tradable trading positions that were long Bitcoin, and I'm either waiting for a lower dip to get back in, or a break above 110,000. Because if we break above 110,000 again, I think we're going significantly higher. So at the moment, it's kind of like hold your horses area. But I am still intermediate. I mean, very long term, I'm bullish.
Yep.
And intermediate term, I'm also bullish because I think the top of the cycle is still ahead of us. But the top of the cycle will probably be in 26, maybe it can stretch into 27. But I don't think we peaked for the cycle. I think we're going to go over 150 this cycle. And how bad the bear cycle will be, it's hard to say until we have peaked. But I don't believe we peaked.
Right on. All right. As far as health is concerned, what's your biggest focus going into 2026 as it relates to health specifically for you? What's the next level in your health journey?
So for me personally, I mean, sticking to the workout routine. I have not. So I've done. I do my blood work regularly, and I keep an eye on that. I've done a tox test, and that came back with some things I need to get out of my body. But that will be the plan for the summer. I'm going to redo my tox test in around May, June, and I may have to spend the summer getting rid of molds out of my body. So that's kind of the plan.
I strongly encourage you to do that at some point. You know Paul. So Paul Burgess has had 50 cancer patients in his career, in his 3-decade plus career. Every single one of those cancer patients has, every single one, 50 out of 50, had some level of mold in their body.
So in the near short term, I am so on my YouTube channel. I did an interview with Dr. August Dunning, who's a NASA scientist, but he wrote a book on dry fasting. So I'm gonna do his dry fasting protocol, which is 7 days, no food, no water. I'm scheduling that for the first week of January, like a day or two after New Year's, and I'm really curious how my tox test comes back after doing a protocol like that. I want to see if it has any effect or not. So that's in the immediate term, is a fasting protocol. I'm slowly, and after that fasting protocol, which is supposed to activate your stem cells, I'm going to add supplements that are stem cell enhancing supplements. We're talking resveratrol, NMN, NAD+. So I'm going to put these supplements into my stack. On the stem cell side of things, like a natural stem cell improvement. And then going into the summer, I may do a gut test, which I haven't done yet. Like I said, I've done the toxicity, I've done the DNA, and I actually have this. You know what that is?
Yeah.
But dude, I can't draw that much blood out of my freaking finger with a prick. I'm about to go grab a knife and
cut your finger off.
Like it's I'm having a problem with this, and I'm leaving tomorrow. So anyway, I'm gonna talk more about the details of that on my YouTube channel.
How close are you to trying some peptides? Are you still a ways away from that?
I'm ways away. I'm ways away. I wanna maximize on the natural side of things before injections. Now I know peptides is the gray area on natural versus not natural.
Yep.
So I'm gonna eye peptides for 2027. I want to by the end of 2026, I want to be at a stage where I have done everything I can between natural living plus supplements, whether they're soluble in water or like pills that are not prescription. Like the XLs that I know you're high on. I have a bunch of bottles here.
I saw you bought a bunch of, I saw. Nucleotides, baby.
Yeah. So I wanna maximize everything I can before injections. And then 2027 could be the start of injections. I would start with peptides. Hopefully I can avoid TRT for as long as I can. I will say that I totally screwed up. I just did blood work. I should have canceled the blood work appointment. I had a terrible night of sleep, and I was up late the night before. Terrible night of sleep. I also decided I was supposed to split my blood work into 2 days, and I'm like, man, I'm only in Miami for 1 day. That's where the clinic I go to. I'm just gonna push it on 1 day. Like I got like lightheaded. They were drawing so much blood for this massive blood work. So I think I screwed up the blood work day, and my metrics are not coming in good. Like all of the things that I was expecting to improve over the last 6 months went in the opposite direction. So I'm super pissed. But hey, you live and you learn, right? But I want to optimize everything I can naturally. And then 2027 might be the year I start peptides. And then you and I are gonna.
I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. All right, final question. You're gonna live a really, really long time, 150 plus. However, right, it's gonna be your time at some point, and I got to know, what do you want people to remember you for?
It's exactly what you said in the beginning of the show. I just want to be remembered for someone that never uh, never compromised his principles. Always told the truth, always was willing to educate, never shied away from an argument, always spoke his mind, no matter what the consequences were. And
I love that.
that's what I would want to be remembered for. Just someone that no people may disagree with my opinions and they may not like me, but there's no way they can say I lied or was dishonest or somehow tried to scam or screw them. I mean, that's kind of my number one priority.
I love it. Brandon, what you got for Tone as we finish off?
No, just awesome stuff, Tone. I'm really glad to see, where, as long as I've known you, this transformation into the health and wellness, I think is awesome. And I'm excited to see what 2026 has for all of us. So thanks for coming on.
All right, cool.
Tone,
right,
where can, so for the people that are watching, where can they find you? Do you want them to go to your YouTube channel, your X account? Where would you like people to go to learn more about Tone Vays?
Probably YouTube. You can just Google Tone Vays everywhere. It's that's my username on Instagram, on X, on all platforms. I don't really sell anything. If I'm DMing you, asking you to buy something, that's not me. That's definitely a scammer, an imposter. I'm becoming a little less popular, so it's kind of great. Like, I don't have people DMing me all the time about my scammers and imposters. I mean, that's actually one of the most frustrating thing about being an influencer, I guess. I mean, Mike, you and I are influencers. I mean, as much as we hate the word, you can't get away from it. And one of the most frustrating things about being an influencer is how easily people get scammed by your imposters. And that's one of the things that almost made me want to leave and not be an influencer anymore. Just like, it just has a mental toll on you when people got scammed for $10, $20, $30,000 thinking that they were talking to me, but they weren't. So that kind of has a toll on your mental space as well. So you can just find me on Tone Vays. There's another YouTube channel. It's the Financial Summit /Black Box, which is where my finance stuff is. But if you Google me on YouTube, you'll find the other channel as well that I'm on. It'll just show up, the Financial Summit YouTube channel. You can follow me on that one as well. I do my views on the markets every day. That information is free on there as well. So that's how people can find me online.
Amazing. We'll link it all up in the show notes. It has been fun getting to know you a little bit better. I thought I knew you after more than a dozen conversations, but I didn't. I realized I didn't, and how impressive you are. So super grateful to be your friend and obviously to be in your world on the FitScript and health side. I'm here for you, brother, and I'm excited to watch you grow.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, and I'm happy to be part of FitScript, man. I've learned a lot.
Awesome.